There are two main things that I want you to write down in your notes on building code, so let's get to it. This is what we're going to be talking about. So first, Babylonian Code of Hammurabi in 1780 BC. If a builder builds a house and does not construct it properly, and the house which he built falls in and kills its owner, then the builder should be put to death. So we don't really have that kind of requirements right now, but I think it would make builders pay maybe even a little bit more attention. However, we don't really have houses just collapsing on people anymore. So the purpose of codes is for the health, safety, and well-being of the public and protection of human life. So that would be one really big important thing that you might want to just jot down really quick is protection of life and health, safety, and well-being of public. That is why we have codes. Professionals are licensed because the public safety is in their hands. So kind of a general statement. So some engineering failures. In 2007, the Minneapolis bridge collapsed, and that was really largely due to just not noticing that these gussets, these little connection joints, were starting to fail when they were doing maintenance. So some history of building codes. The second real important thing I want you to write down is that fires in the 1800s prompted insurance companies to demand codes. So insurance companies were the reasons they said, hey, we're not going to insure you if your building is garbage. So they said you need to have all buildings be built to a certain specification, and then yes, we will insure you, because insurance companies' goal is to make money also. So it's really all about the insurance companies, and that still is largely how it is today. Insurance companies have a heavy hand in new codes that have to be applied to buildings. So some little background information. The building officials and code administration, don't write this one down, but it's the first major model code group in 1915. Codes were adopted predominantly in the north and northeastern U.S. This is 1915. So moving on, the ICBO, International Conference of Building Officials, formed in 1922. This is in California, so these are by states west of the Mississippi. So we have different types of codes east and west of the Mississippi. Not really the most efficient. Then in the South, in 1940, they had their own codes, so that was accepted in the Southeast. Again, another set of codes. Well, then they decided, hey, we need to kind of standardize this. So there was the International Code Council, ICC, which is in existence today, and that's the representatives from each of the code organizations. They formed the ICC in 1994, which really is not that long ago. If you think about it, you probably have been in many buildings that were built before 1994. So kind of interesting. But then they published the first additional building code in 2000. And we've had a few revisions since. We're going to be using code revisions from 2009, I think some from 2006. There was some new ones updated in 2012, but these are most of the most common. There's IRC, the International Building Code, IBC, mechanical, plumbing, energy, electrical. They all have their own code books, and they're ginormous. There are a lot of codes that you have to be familiar with. For IRC, International Residential, it's for 1 and 2 family dwellings. So if you have 1 and 2 family dwelling homes or townhomes, they have to follow the IRC. And all modifications and specs are published on the internet. You can check them out for reference. International Residential Code applies to home consisting of 3 stories or less above grade. So if it's more than 3 stories, then it has a different type of code system. But within that, it covers all of these different systems. Structural, thermal insulation, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, fuel, gas, fireplace, and chimneys. All these different systems are in the International Residential Code. So in one particular chapter, this is called Building Planning, they define habitable space. So it's the third real main thing I want to make sure you write down. Habitable space is a space in a building for living, sleeping, eating, and cooking, which is really what you would have in a house. That's habitable space. Not a garage. It's not habitable space. A bathroom, toilet room, closet, hall, storage, utility, or similar areas are not considered habitable space, along with the garage. So these are not habitable, these are habitable. Make sure that you have the distinction between habitable and non-habitable spaces. And then here's some just different sections. We have section R, 303, R304, 310, 311. These are some that in the document you're going to open, I've given you some specific details about these that you need to follow. And they are word for word directly out of the code books, but there are a lot more involved. We are hitting really kind of the main big ones. Safety first.